Welcome to Ladies Who Lore, the only podcast that dives deep into urban legends and bottles of wine. We're your hosts, Lindsay, Jesse,
and Sammy.
Now fill up your glasses, gather around the fire, and let's lore.
Oh my god, there's a person.
Good afternoon. It was a person?
Yeah, it's fine.
Oh yeah, the person who lives across the way.
It scared me. I thought it was a cat.
It
was not a cat.
Did anything happen this week?
I work in an office. Our UPS guy, Jaime, is phenomenal and we chat all the time. And I don't know how we started talking about this, but he told me about his childhood, and he grew up in El Salvador.
Ooh.
And he grew up like adjacent to coffee fields. And there was a legend about the coffee fields, about El Payasito.
Payasito.
El Payasito is a tiny clown.
No.
He can be found by a tree in the coffee fields.
No.
And the way that you know that he's coming is a green light starts shining from the tree. And Jaime would get up in the middle of the night and go into the coffee fields at like 10 years old.
What?
Yeah. And he'd be like, I want to see El Payasito.
No.
Was El Payasito known to be nice or murderous? Because the clown to me screams murderous.
I agree.
Correct.
Okay.
When Jaime tells it to me, he's like, I don't know why I wasn't scared. I was just like, I want to find this thing.
Cool.
But and he lived in like country, so
Sure.
it was black as night outside.
gosh.
And this little 10-year-old boy is like roaming the coffee field looking for the tree and the green light.
Wow.
And he said one time a car was coming down, and so their headlights were beaming, and he was like, El Payasito's coming. Isn't that crazy?
That's scary.
But yeah, How
did this come up?
I genuinely do not remember. And then he started telling me about like all these El Salvadorian like lores and
Wow.
myths. So I'm gonna do one at some point.
Please.
That's really cool.
But they're really scary. He was telling me like how rooted in like black magic El Salvador is, especially like the backcountry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so fascinating.
One of my
That's
coworkers
super
is
interesting.
from the country in El Salvador, so now I want to ask about this.
El Payasito,
should.
yeah, you should.
Immediately going to.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's terrifying.
I don't know if it's like just like a coffee farmer sort of situation, but I feel like people know about El Payasito. Like you've got to, right?
Was there, like, did something happen if you found him? Or you shouldn't want to find him?
I don't know actually.
Okay.
Or does he find you?
He probably does.
I think he finds
it feels
you.
Like you shouldn't go looking. But
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. But his grandma would like wake up like early morning being like, where were you?
Oh my gosh.
But cops couldn't go out there because it was like in buttfuck nowhere. But
Wow.
yeah, super creepy.
Thank you for that. That's really interesting.
Thank you, Jaime.
Lore
Thank
from
you.
around the world.
Exactly. That's what we're doing here.
Can't wait till you do an El Salvadorian.
Shit's
Lore.
creepy. I already looked into it. It's like very scary. But I can't wait. We love some scary stuff.
I love scary stuff. I love scary stuff.
Well, I have a fun tale from this week.
Oh,
I
okay.
guess technically Jesse and I have a fun tale from this week.
What? Oh!
In which, for my recent birthday, Jesse had gotten us a tour, a haunted ghost bar crawl tour.
Aw, good friends.
In Hollywood. And you go to like 3 or 4 different bars and have a drink and you hear a story about that place or the surrounding area.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being just us and the tour guide.
Benny.
Benny! And it was one of the most fun nights I have ever had. And some of the stories were so cool. I am baffled by the Chinese theater specifically.
Really?
Yes.
Give
Yeah.
us a story.
Well, I don't remember all the names or details.
Fritz.
Sure.
I do know Fritz. He was
Fritz was
a
a ghost.
disgruntled employee there for like,
In like the 30s.
a few days when it first opened, yeah.
It
And-
only took him a few days to get
He ended up-
disgruntled, or
That's a good question.
I think we even asked why.
Benny was like, I don't know. It's just the script, okay?
But basically he passed, and
He hung himself in the theater.
That-
I
yeah.
think that's important.
yeah,
that's a
he did.
good turn.
Like a couple several days after opening, I think. And they ended up eventually closing down some of the like hallways, like secret passageways in the theater.
They had like speakeasy sections for all the famous people.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And they closed them down, but you could still like hear green, like, or like buzzers that were these green buzzers that would like open up the next area, I guess. And they can like still hear buzzing every now and then. But the most cool one was outside. There was another person who ended up having like no job. Do you remember how?
Yeah, it was a dude. There's a very historical building in Hollywood, and on the 13th floor, because of course, he came in one day with a shotgun, trying to like shoot up the office, which is really fucking sad. He killed a secretary and injured a cop, and he tried to take his own life by shooting himself in the head, and missed and blew off his jaw. So people see like a man in the window with no jaw, which is crazy.
It was such a cool experience. Highly recommend.
Sounds wonderful.
My favorite thing that happened, we were so drunk, by the way, because you have like 15 minutes at these bars to down your drinks. And it was just us, so we're going full force. And we went to Black Rabbit, it's like a magic bar in Hollywood, which is super fun. I was plastered at this point, and Magic John is doing all these card tricks.
Love Magic John.
And he tried being super sly, putting a card down, like at a different table that was supposed to be a different card, and then we'd get all like psyched out. And my drunk ass picks up the card mid-trick, and I'm like, that's not my card. That's not my card.
Oh my god.
Like, yeah, no.
I was like, I'm sorry, I ruined the trick.
Oh my god.
It was
John.
so funny.
Look, he had to do better.
Yeah.
Can't get by me.
You gotta be able
ass.
to finish the trick mid-trick, you know?
That was super fun.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So that was our week.
Well, wonderful. I'm excited because I brought you wine and lore and some new glasses with which to drink out of. And what I will say, these glasses did not inspire my lore today, but they do absolutely fit it perfectly. So you're welcome to use both the bottle and the glasses.
2 clues
for guessing. But you better get it now.
I was going to say, if we don't get it, both.
She's taking the wine away.
You know, I think I know what you're going to guess. We'll just see. We'll just see.
Let's pop some.
All right. I'll be back soon. Transition music. Dun, 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 dun.
It's beautiful.
No, it wasn't.
I liked it.
Thank you.
Wow, they're gorgeous.
I really want like beautifully colored glasses.
So pretty.
That's Gorgina.
I love how they have like different colors in them.
Yeah.
They kind of look like tulips.
Yeah, they do. So, it is a barefoot bubbly, sweet rosé specifically.
It's got like rainbow on it and like confetti. It's a California champagne, which doesn't make any sense because champagne is only from the Champagne region of France.
Jesse. I didn't know we were a wine podcast.
We are now, ladies.
It looks like a Pride version of this bottle.
Which goes well with our glasses because we have these iridescent, lovely glasses that are colored. So mine's orange.
Mine is green-blue.
Mine's purpley blue.
They have like lines going down the glass. They are stemmed.
So it's got to have something to do with pride. Rainbow. Leprechauns.
That's what I was going to say.
It's not leprechauns. That is what I thought you were going to guess. But you are right going on the rainbow.
Okay, never mind. That already immediately dismisses it.
We're right on going on the rainbow?
Yeah. I was going to say maybe like Bigfoot because barefoot bubbly.
One day. Someone's going to do Bigfoot like 3 years from now.
And we'll remember this moment.
It'll be a barefoot baby.
It's Bigfoot.
I think you stumped both of us.
Really?
All right, tell us what it is.
So today, ladies, we'll be learning about the lore of auras. Ladies who Laura. Hence, you have the colors and the glow and your rainbow.
Yeah.
It's something that I've always been curious about and have never really understood where it comes from, what we do with it. But it does feel like something that's very popular in our pop culture. So
I love it.
It was time for me to do a deep dive.
Speaking of pop, shall we pop this bubbly, babes?
Let's do it. Do it on mic. Do it on mic. This will be so good for an audio show. We should have done this long ago. This pop.
Oblivion obligatory woo.
Wait, listen.
ASMR.
I will say, gee, what if these colors that you already chose have something to say about you?
I am sort of like an orangey lady.
You do have red hair.
That's not what I meant.
Cheers!
It's quite sweet.
It does. It
This is candy.
Yeah, this is juice.
This is the least mature wine we've had on this podcast by a mile.
Wait,
I'm happy to bring it.
Brought
We had a sparkling rosé.
Yeah, but not a sweet barefoot sparkling rosé.
No, it was not a sweet rosé.
I don't mean
That's
mature as in the grapes. I mean as in the taste that I have. So today, we don't have a folktale, but rather a concept in need of a deep dive. It's an idea that's both new and ancient. And it's something that comes up again and again in popular conversation, and it has been recently doing that for me as well, on TikTok, even in life, believe it or not. And maybe by the end of this, we'll all see a little bit more vividly. You can laugh. So I'm going to put a disclaimer at the top of this episode, because it's in need of one. And it's something we could probably put on a lot of lore, because lore is shaped by culture. But there are cultures, one, that very much believe in this. And second of all, there are a lot of cultures that I'm about to talk about that I am not a part of at all. Because the idea of auras has become very ubiquitous and new age and spiritually in a very Western way, I would also be remiss to not point out that a lot of them are, the true ideas are based in Hindu, Buddhist, Vedic philosophies and religions, and I am a white girl from Illinois. And I have spent a lot of time reading about these beliefs, but I should not be your go-to for the most authentic version of this. Please go to someone else if you want a real expert. Thank you. And I will get off my soapbox and get started. It's very interesting in that in my deep dive, I realized that yes, this is an episode about lore, but there's also a very interesting deep dive to be done on New Age spirituality, full stop. Yeah. And how we've sort of treated lore post maybe like 1950s in the very Western way we've done it. Like a lot of lore has been really watered down or changed or put out with an agenda. I found it very interesting because this is a story, in my opinion, of that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it reminds me a lot of like how yoga has turned from like what it was and like what it's supposed to be, and we've sort of like westernized it for like a huge part of yoga practicing. Not to say that there isn't like authentic yoga studios out there and all that jazz, but it is interesting to see how like we just transform other cultures.
Especially in this era and recent eras in like America and England, it has meant like, in order to have these concepts reach more people, which they should, it has to be presented by like a weird white guy who's going to be like, and this is for you and your self-help and all these things. So anyway.
Right, away from like the religious
away from the actual reason. Tracking auras was like trying to track like, I don't know what, like trying to catch a ghost. It is a very interesting, like very difficult thing to pin down in terms of who actually said what, who actually did what. Even though we talk about them and they're really popular. All right, so now let's begin. So auras. Do you guys want to tell me what you know about them or if you've heard of them?
Sure. So I know that we had a friend in high school, Laurel. And
Laurel. Ladies who
Laurel. Ladies who Laurel. And she could read people's auras. So the way that she described it was like she sees a person and there's like a color tint around them, and each color tint sort of had a different like emotion that it evoked or like different traits that belonged with it. So that's pretty much all I know.
That's very cool.
My aunt can read auras, and I actually haven't talked to her about that in a really long time.
That's really cool.
Makes me like want to ask her about it again. And she kind of was explaining that same thing where you can kind of see a color. It happened once where I saw someone's color. It was fascinating, but that's really all I know about it.
We should get your aunt on this podcast.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you may have heard about these through a number of situations. Maybe you've heard of people getting their aura picture taken. I don't know if you've heard that that's a thing.
Nope.
Maybe you've seen TikToks like me. Maybe you've tried to read your own. Maybe you have a friend who can read yours. Maybe a lady chased you down the street, hypothetically, saying you have a beautiful aura, but you are confused about what you want from your life.
This feels...
That was me just a year ago.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I feel less confused than I did. She was right.
You straightened it out.
I appreciate that she complimented my aura before being like, "You're confused," and chasing me. And it was a positive experience.
Yeah,
truly.
okay.
So let's start at the beginning.
Great.
Aura, the word, the etymology of it. Where is it from? Latin and Greek. It originally meant breeze or wind or even death.
Oh.
Kind of interesting in that all of these things are like invisible forces
That
but
also,
with power.
And that also like evoke change.
Yeah,
Like,
so true.
That does a change, wind, breeze, all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's very true.
That's cool.
Middle English then also adopted the word to mean a gentle breeze. And then the word took off in the 19th century in these spiritual circles to start meaning life force, to start describing what we think we know as an aura. In like a lot of British spiritual circles who took a lot of their inspiration from India because India was a colony, a lot of these people would study there, learn things, take it back. Aura started meaning life force, like a subtle emanation around the body. So it was the idea of something a bit bigger than yourself, sort of like when you talk mind, body, spirit, you're talking about like the spirit part of you.
Sure.
So that could exist outside of you and in you. But the cool thing that I found is that this idea of an aura, but specifically this life force emanating around you, is so cross-cultural. So even though the word came from Latin and Greek and Middle English, this idea has been brought up again and again in ancient religions, in medicine. And I love something like that because it makes me feel like everyone was onto something.
Yeah.
And we all agreed in a different way. So in ancient medicine, the body's thought to have visible and invisible parts. In Chinese medicine specifically, the latter being an energetic system that's known as qi. And when qi is in balance, it can indicate ailments, it can indicate all sorts of things. If you want to trip and you want to read how Western doctors are now just figuring out some of these things and like realizing that, you know, qi in traditional Chinese medicine has a lot of helpful concepts, there's a very good episode on a podcast called Radiolab, one of my favorites, from NPR. There is a scientist who just discovered a new organ system called the Interstitium. It is visible to the naked eye, and yet no one ever was like, hey, is that its own thing? What? And apparently it's a way that fluid is transported around our bodies. And he brought it to a Chinese medical conference, and a doctor came up to him and was like, yeah, we've been kind of talking about this.
He's like, no shit.
So I found that
interesting.
Very interesting. So Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine had this concept. Ancient Egyptians believed in something called Ka, which was the vital essence. They split the body up into, I think, 3 parts, but I'm no expert on this. Nope. I'm here to give you a rundown and a glass of wine.
Killing it.
And then Vedism, which is sort of this ancient religion philosophy that preceded Hinduism, but then also grew alongside of it, talks about the idea of auras as well in terms of prana, which is life force. You, honestly, in the most reductively possible, you may have heard that word in a yoga class. Because...
I don't do yoga. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I used to.
I'm really bad at stretching. Which means I should do yoga.
You should do yoga.
But it's expensive. Yeah. I can't afford it.
So those are the ideas of the life force all throughout different cultures. But how did we get to the idea that we could see a life force? Could see them specifically, like in the modern way we talk about it. Could see them specifically.
Are you okay?
It's bubbly. In the modern way we talk about it by color. So the popularization is just not as romantic as we want it to be. And this is when Western spiritualists basically start adopting and appropriating Eastern culture. I want to put it out there. I find it very interesting because the Western world / Christianity, if you want to talk about that as being a driving factor, has also the concept of glowiness, has a lot of glowiness. Doesn't have a lot of life force speak that I'm aware of. But Christianity has the concept of halos. Yeah. And this like thing that you can see, this glowing thing that denotes being holy or being, you know, whatever. Ancient Greeks had a divine light that surrounded heroes and gods called an aureole. Very close. So I do think if somehow this mixture where it became visible didn't come from the idea of a lot of people being raised in a Christian religion or studying the ancient Greek sort of revivalism, being like, shouldn't I see this glow? This holy glow? I don't know. So you fast forward to 1910. Charles Webster Leadbetter is known as the father of auras.
His last name is Leadbetter?
Leadbetter.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Charles, in 1910, you know, was the first person to ever discover auras.
Of course.
Yes.
Was he white?
Yes.
Of course.
Indeed, he was the first white man to say that he discovered auras and have everyone believe him.
Are you questioning it?
Thousands of years of culture. Like, what the fuck, dude?
He's like, I'm going to write this down in a book, though.
But I found
to be fair, Charles Webster Leadbetter was he was a mysticist. Mysticists were very popular in the Victorian and Edwardian periods. People were starting to take a lot of this Eastern, quote, quote, religion, mix it with these sort of witchy ideas that already existed, mix it with other spirituality, and you got these societies popping up. So Charles, was part of the Theosophical Society in England.
Me too.
Which was a new religious movement that drew on a lot of different religions and also the occult. Theo meaning God, Sophie meaning knowledge. Thank you, Miss Davis, my 8th grade English teacher, for teaching me Latin roots. So he's a mysticist. And he also studied in India. Classic. Introduced the modern concept of an aura by blending the idea of the life force in a lot of these different Vedic and Hindu cultures with the tantric idea, tantric being a bit different but still coming from the India area, of chakras or vortexes in a human body associated with different energy, astrology, organs, all sorts of things. But they're basically these vortexes of energy. So he didn't credit a lot of people with his ideas, but ultimately, like, this is where we get the aura that we know.
I like the idea that on his like book release, his name is like super big, and everyone else's is like teeny tiny.
He's like, I did also study with these thousands of years traditions.
Charles Leadbetter, and
it's all on the inside, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of laugh. I scoff a bit.
Guffaw?
That anyone could be credited as the father of any thousands-of-year-old tradition.
He's
just period.
credited as the father?
He's not credited. He's credited as the guy who introduced auras.
That's what he called himself.
I'm Daddy Aura.
I'm Daddy Aura.
Call me Dora.
He saw Fleabag season 2 and went, call me father.
He is a theosophist. Theo meaning God. So I do think it's like funny in our lore world. Like, we haven't so far come across a lot of these people that are like, and this is the person that made fairies, and this is the person, it is just interesting that this is a tradition that like so many cultures have talked about, and then suddenly like this one guy becomes the definitive book, sort of. And that is where things get muddy, because so much of the New Age spiritualist movement, which is basically things that happened in America, probably starting with the mysticism in Britain, but then it goes in, it's what you're thinking. It's the yoga, it's the chakras, it's all of these things. It's in the heart of LA. And it's very muddy, and it's not standardized. It's not really agreed upon. Oftentimes it's really taken out of context. So like, if you ask some people, they associate the colors of an aura with chakras, and some people have added in way more colors than that. Some colors mean completely different things. Like, it becomes very hard to standardize. But I'm going to try to give you a quick run through based on the colors. Or at least give you the chakras and the colors that they're associated with. So, red, associated with the root chakra, the bottom chakra. We're going bottom to top in terms of your 7 chakras.
Where on the body
the root
is that?
chakra, I believe, is at like your sacrum. Like it's your butt. Yeah. Okay. It's not your foot. End of your tailbone, sort of like that area.
That makes sense. It's rooting you.
Yeah, it's rooting you to the ground. You can feel it. So that's associated with red. Red auras usually are related to fearless people, naturally physical people, people who are competitive, enjoy manifesting things into the world, creating things, building things. Orange, the color of Jesse's glass, associated with the sacral chakra. I hate saying chakra. I just feel so like white lady from LA.
But I think there's a difference between we're like learning about the culture. It's not like we're trying to like be like we invented this.
Oh, I am the father actually of chakras.
Oh, so we are trying to do that.
I'm Daddy Chakra.
Oh, okay. Then maybe we should stop the recording.
Yeah. No, I was trying to say that I invented this.
Oh.
I'm sorry. The sacral chakra, I believe it has more to do with your reproductive organs. Right below your navel is where the sacral chakra is.
Cool.
And that is orange. It's the energy center of exchange, relationships. If you're a person with an orange aura, perhaps it means your frequencies resonate with interaction and relationships and love, whether it relates to sharing things or friendship or things like that. So you're a very people person. You create a lot of community and love.
Sick. My glass is that.
So therefore you are orange?
By proxy, I'm orange.
Apparently.
Yellow is your solar plexus, so that's like right below your lungs, like kind of in that area where your abs begin. Sternum is a good way of putting it. That's like sort of your place of strength. If you have a yellow aura, you tend to brim in confidence and happiness, sense of self, wanting to help inspire others, that sort of thing. Apparently these people are natural born leaders, something like that. Again, wishy-washy, muddy, new age. Green, associated with the heart chakra. So people with a green aura tend to be healers. They tend to have a strong, peaceful presence. Vibrations of the heart and healing are really like central to that. Blue, throat chakra, center of communication. You tend to be calm, communicative, good at self-expression. Artistic, usually. You're finding ways to share that self-expression with other people. Indigo is I believe it's like your third eye, technically, is where that's rooted. Powerful, creative, empathic, very dreamy. And then violet being the crown chakra, which really starts at the top of your head, but apparently is your connection to like the higher self and the higher world. Is like a lot of intuition, almost magical, futuristic, like visionary stuff going on. Sometimes really even cool. Psychic abilities. So yeah, there you go. That's your rundown.
I like that they're all positive. Like none of them are like negative.
No, they're
vibes.
I think this is where it gets interesting too, is like some people will say like if you have a dimmer aura, like you're not allowing yourself to express these qualities. And if you have a brighter aura, you're expressing everything. So like there are people who say that like if you have a rainbow aura, you're really just like vibrating on all of these planes at once. If you subscribe to the theory of chakras as relating to the auras, like it could be that like the things that are most glowy about you are the things that are most strong, and you might have something blocked off if you don't have that.
So does everyone have all auras, and they're just like they're alternating between dim and bright? Is that
depends on who you ask. Okay. Depends on who wrote the book. There's definitely like
Charles did.
Yeah, okay. I don't know what Charles would say. I didn't buy his book. But I will say that like it would make sense to me intuitively to say that an aura would not be the same all the time.
Yeah.
I think the idea that someone is just you're blue and you're always blue, like it may be that they express that thing a lot, but like ultimately speaking, I think that probably changes over a lifetime.
I would think so, especially
naturally.
like when people change and grow.
Yeah.
Like different parts of themselves also grow. And I feel like that would eventually change the aura.
Yeah, I would think so. No personality's fixed. We're all amalgamations of all sorts of qualities in ourselves. And we all contain multitudes, if you will. So, again, because this got so kind of like hard to pin down, I did pick out some of my favorite sort of questions or things that I had that I'll give to you now. But if you have others, please let me know.
Okay.
So, again, the brightness of an aura, I learned if it's dimmer, you might have something blocked. If it's dark, allegedly, that could have to do with negativity or disease or like an actual darker presence in your life. So some people say that there can be darkness in an aura, there can be negative things in an aura. They're usually going to show up as like black or gray. So who can read auras? Like, who are the people who read auras? You both know people. I'm a person who is mildly synesthesic. Basically, a person who's synesthesic can sort of associates color or taste with the things in their life. So like a person can feel a taste or associate a person with a color or letters with a color. In 2012, research in Spain did actually find that many individuals who claim to see auras have that quality about them, have the synesthesia of associating people with colors already. So there may be some sort of connection there.
Do you associate us with colors?
Your name is red to me.
Oh, sick.
You're orange to me.
Yeah, she's got a lot of red and orange. She's a warm one. Yeah.
She's blue.
Yeah, she's
I
blue
used
for
to be
sure.
yellow to you, right?
I know, but now you're blue.
Yeah, you're very
Which
blue
is
to me.
fascinating that it changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think you're kind of like maybe like a lavender?
I was going to say lavender.
Oh my god, really?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
That's weird.
I know.
I've gotten lavender before.
See?
Interestingly enough.
I've gotten orange before.
Wow.
Yeah, red. Yeah.
Maybe there's something to it. I mean, I believe there's something to it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I'll give you more. There's not a lot of scientific proof for this stuff. Shockingly, science isn't really focused on auras, but I will say another cool scientific fact. You can take pictures kind of an aura. They're not really necessarily of an aura. But this long tradition of aura photography is scientifically rooted in Kirlian photography, which started in 1939 with this Soviet scientist Semyon Kirlian. This is just an episode of me gonna, try my best to pronounce things.
Love it.
Who discovered that if you put an object on a photographic plate connected to a high voltage source, an extra image is basically produced on that photographic plate, which is known as electrography. And you can almost capture, I don't fully understand this, but electrical coronal discharges, meaning the energy discharges off of an object or a person.
It's kind of like how they see ghosts in photographs too. It's like the little extra energy that's there.
Yeah, I would imagine that's the same technology. And it's grown and changed, but I think that is the root of a lot of the supernatural photography, both in auras and in ghosts. So I found that really interesting. And very well, in the future, could we discover that people are emitting different energies at different frequencies? Yeah, I think that's really possible.
I think if we could emit different smells, we could emit different energies.
Yes.
Like, it's all coming from the pores of our body.
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
And so if you want to try and read auras, you should try, because you might see something. And don't pull a Leadbetter and say you're the father of them.
I will.
Yeah, I'm the father.
What if that's the new diss of our friend group? Like, oh, you're being such a Leadbetter right now.
Stop it with the lead betting. Seriously.
It's too much, okay?
Yeah, I would say, from what I understand, it's a cool tradition, and don't use it to say you're the father of it, and don't use it like some people use astrology, which is to insult your friends and boost your own ego.
Yeah.
Do it because it's cool and you're curious, and
and be respectful about it.
Yeah, be respectful.
But I am the mother of it, so.
But Sammy's mom. So now that you're prepared, now that you have the information, would you like the instructions before I close it out?
Sure.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Number 1, you're going to place your subject, your person, against a white or cream wall a light-colored wall. I've also heard you can do this in complete darkness, so again...
Fun. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, let's do the light one. If you want to see your own aura, you'll hold your hand out in front of you. If you want to see someone else's, you're going to have them be in front of the wall.
Okay.
You make sure there's gentle light in the room, no spotlights, no big shadows. Some people say daylight is really good for it. Because electric lights have a really specific source. So your ideal distance from this thing, 3 to 5 feet. You're going to take a few deep grounding breaths and just focus your eyes on a central point of whatever you're trying to see. If you meditate a lot or if you feel like you know where your third eye is, you can try and involve that a little bit. And then you just lose focus and breathe.
That's awesome.
And see what you can see. So there you go. That's auras. That's
so cool.
And I made them all up.
Wait, Lindsay, you're Charles Leadbetter?
One of us here was always going to be Charles Leadbetter. And I hope that your next episode is on channeling people so that I may learn how to talk to Mr. Leadbetter.
No.
Mine's not. I can already say mine isn't either.
Oh, next time. I'll do it next time. I'm just going to build on this for every other episode that I do. I'm gonna be like, and this is how you talk to Charles. It's my favorite lore.
We hold a seance. Wait, let's hold a seance. What?
You know, I used to host seances, and some crazy stuff did happen.
What happened?
I invited over the cast of WAMU, cast and company, because I was a co-chair. And I was like, let's do a seance, because we're like doing this show about women who have been forgotten in history. Let's try and talk to some of these women that we're doing this show about. See what they think about our show.
Dangerous call.
Surprisingly, they're really mean about it.
Yeah, they fucking hated WAMU. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about the swear. I don't know. We swear on this show?
Yes.
We swear in real life.
All the time.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so anyway, I invited everyone over. And we sat in a circle. It was a lot of people who wanted to be part of this. We did a lot of candles. It was all dark. Windows were a little bit ajar. And we kind of just like went from person to person, asking who we want to talk to, sort of bringing things up. All well and good. Although, I will say, some of the religious kids started getting very uncomfortable.
Interesting.
And a couple of them did leave. So, I feel bad.
Well, can't you not break the circle of a seance? Isn't that the thing?
Well, they did. And then we get to Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells, fantastic activist, should be common knowledge. I believe most people know her, but we get to Ida B. Wells and we're doing our little talking, and then all of a sudden we say Ida B. Wells. And off the top shelf in my kitchen, someone had placed a Swell water bottle, fully safe, not on the edge, not anywhere, comes tumbling and crashing down to the floor. You know the sound of a Swell water bottle. It's metal. Just crash. People freak out. Like, 2 of the candles go out. Because people, I think, were freaking out. But again,
sure. But also...
Yeah, and that's when the rest of the religious kids ran. So, what was funny is that same night, I was alone. Everyone left me in my apartment. My roommate wasn't there. I felt fine. I don't mind spirits. If they're out there, I think we're fine. We're cool so far. But I did feel something was in my apartment. And I did play Bloody Mary just to...
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I have a lavender aura. You know, it is what it is.
This is just silly to me, this comment, but Wells Swell water bottle?
Oh, no, I've never thought of that.
Like, that's my namesake.
I never thought of that.
I had to say it.
No.
That's actually even more proof that was Ida.
That was Ida. Sammy, if we had had Sammy there, she would have been on it.
She would have known. That's crazy.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thanks for such a lovely story.
This is so fun.
Thanks for learning with me. I know it wasn't the typical lore, but it turned out, you couldn't have tracked it, even if you wanted to. There had to be some conversations about not being a Leadbetter. Well, thanks, ladies.
Have fun.
Ladies who Laura, ladies who Laurel, ladies who Leadbetter.
Goodbye.
Okay, 3, 2, ladies. Ladies who Leadbetter. Ladies Who Lore is produced and edited by Jesse Vane, Lindsay Whistler, and Sammy Winchester. Music was created by Lindsay Whistler. Today's sources can be found in the show notes. Want some lore? Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Ladies Who Lore. And feel free to send your stories to ladieswholorepod@gmail.com.